Prosperity for Pisces. What may be forming behind the scenes? There is something happening right now that you cannot see, Pisces. Not because it is hidden from you deliberately, but because it is not finished yet. Think of it like the roots of a great tree. They spread and thicken and anchor themselves deep in the earth long before the first leaf breaks the surface. From above, the ground looks the same as it always has. Nothing seems to be growing. Nothing seems to be changing. But beneath that still, ordinary surface, a massive network of roots is forming, reaching, connecting, preparing to support something that will eventually rise so high it changes the entire landscape. That is what is happening in your life right now. Prosperity is forming behind the scenes, in places you cannot observe, through processes you cannot control, and on a timeline that your conscious mind does not have access to. And the fact that you cannot see it does not mean it is not real. It means it is not ready yet. But it is close, Pisces. Closer than you know. Foundation 1. The first thing forming behind the scenes is a new financial foundation that has nothing to do with the amount of money currently in your account. This foundation is being built inside you, in the way you think about money, in the way you relate to abundance, in the beliefs and attitudes and emotional patterns that have governed your financial life for decades. For years, those internal patterns created a foundation of sand. Unstable, unreliable, prone to washing away at the first sign of trouble. But something has been quietly replacing that sand with stone. Your relationship with money is maturing. Your understanding of abundance is deepening. Your willingness to engage with financial reality instead of avoiding it is growing stronger every day. And while none of this is visible from the outside, while no one looking at your life right now might see any evidence of change, the truth is that the most important part of the change has already happened. The foundation is being laid. And everything that will eventually be built upon it, the income, the opportunities, the material stability you have longed for, all of it depends on this invisible groundwork being done first. Think about how many times in your life you received something good only to watch it slip through your fingers. A windfall that disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. An opportunity that started strong but fizzled because you did not know how to sustain it. Money that came and went without ever accumulating into real security. Those experiences were not bad luck, Pisces. They were the natural result of abundance arriving before the internal foundation was ready to hold it. The money came, but the beliefs, the habits, the emotional patterns needed to keep it were not yet in place. And so it left. Not because you were cursed, not because you were undeserving, but because the container was not ready. What is different now is that the container is being built. Quietly, patiently, one internal shift at a time, you are becoming someone who can hold prosperity. Not just receive it briefly, but hold it, grow it, and sustain it over time. And that is worth more than any windfall could ever be. Foundation 2. The second thing forming behind the scenes is a network of connections and opportunities that you are not yet aware of. The universe does not deliver prosperity in a vacuum. It delivers it through people, through conversations, through seemingly random encounters that turn out to be anything but random. And right now, invisible threads are being woven between you and the people, the resources, and the opportunities that will play a role in your next chapter of abundance. Someone you have not yet met is being positioned to cross your path. A conversation you have not yet had is being prepared. An opportunity that does not yet exist in your awareness is taking shape in the world, getting ready to present itself at exactly the right moment. This is hard to believe when you are standing in the middle of what looks like nothing. When your days feel ordinary, your circumstances feel unchanged, and the prosperity you have been hoping for seems as distant as ever. But Pisces, the universe does not work on your timeline. It works on its own, and its timing is impeccable even when it feels agonizingly slow. The connections being formed right now are not random. They are strategic. They are part of a larger design that your conscious mind cannot see but your soul already understands. And when these connections finally become visible, when the people and opportunities arrive, you will look back and realize that everything, every delay, every detour, every moment of waiting, was preparation for this exact convergence. Foundation 3. The third thing forming behind the scenes is a clarity of purpose that is slowly crystallizing in you. For most of your life, Pisces, you have struggled with the question of purpose. Not because you lack talent or passion, but because you have so many of both that choosing a direction felt impossible. You are good at too many things. You care about too many causes. You are drawn in too many directions. And that abundance of interest and ability, as wonderful as it sounds, has actually been a source of paralysis. When everything feels important, nothing gets prioritized. When every path looks interesting, no path gets fully traveled. And so you have drifted beautifully but without the kind of focused momentum that builds real, tangible prosperity. But behind the scenes, something is happening to that scattered sense of purpose. It is narrowing, not in a way that eliminates your interests or diminishes your multifaceted nature, but in a way that identifies a through line, a common thread that connects all of your passions and talents into a single coherent direction. You may not see it yet. You may still feel scattered, still feel pulled in multiple directions, still feel like you cannot figure out what you are supposed to do with the rest of your life. But the figuring out is happening, Pisces. It is happening in the quiet moments, in the dreams you have at night, in the ideas that keep returning no matter how many times you push them away. A purpose is crystallizing, a direction is forming, and when it finally becomes clear, it will not feel like a new discovery. It will feel like a homecoming. Foundation 4. The fourth thing forming behind the scenes is a reservoir of courage that you do not yet know you possess. Pisces, you do not think of yourself as courageous. You think of yourself as sensitive, as emotional, as someone who feels fear more deeply than most. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. And by that definition, you are one of the most courageous people alive. Every day that you got out of bed when depression told you to stay down was an act of courage. Every time you loved again after heartbreak was an act of courage. Every prayer you whispered when faith was the only thing keeping you alive was an act of courage so profound that most people could not even comprehend it. That courage has been accumulating, Pisces. It has been building layer upon layer through every difficult experience you survived, every loss you endured, every moment when giving up would have been easier than going on. And now, behind the scenes, that accumulated courage is reaching a critical mass. It is preparing to carry you through the threshold of a new chapter, a chapter that will require you to take risks you have never taken, to say yes to opportunities that scare you, to step into arenas where you feel uncertain and exposed. And you will do it, Pisces. Not because you will suddenly stop feeling afraid, but because the courage you have been building your entire life will be more than enough to carry you through the fear and into the prosperity waiting on the other side. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Foundation 5. The fifth thing forming behind the scenes is a healing of old wounds around money and self-worth that has been happening so gradually you may not even recognize it. There are experiences in your past, some from childhood, some from your young adult years, some from more recent chapters, that left deep scars in your relationship with money and abundance. Maybe you grew up in a household where money was a source of conflict. Maybe you experienced a financial loss that shattered your confidence. Maybe someone you trusted betrayed you in a way that was connected to money, and that betrayal taught you that abundance was dangerous, that having more meant risking more, that it was safer to stay small than to invite the kind of attention that comes with prosperity. Those wounds have been governing your financial life from the shadows for a long time. They have shaped your decisions, limited your vision, and kept you trapped in patterns that made sense only in the context of the original pain. But healing has been happening, Pisces. Not in dramatic bursts of catharsis, but in the slow, patient way that deep wounds always heal. From the inside out, layer by layer, over months and years and decades. And right now, behind the scenes, that healing is reaching a point where the old wounds no longer have the power to control your choices. The scars remain because scars always remain, but the active, bleeding influence of those old experiences is fading. And in its place, a new relationship with money is forming. One that is rooted not in pain but in possibility, not in fear but in faith, not in the limitations of the past but in the potential of the future. Foundation 6. The sixth thing forming behind the scenes is a shift in the energetic frequency you broadcast to the world. This may sound abstract, but its effects are profoundly practical. Every person emits a kind of energetic signal, a frequency made up of their thoughts, their beliefs, their emotions, and their expectations. And that signal attracts circumstances and people that match its vibration. For a long time, your signal was broadcasting scarcity, worry, self-doubt, and the quiet resignation of someone who had given up expecting things to change. And the world responded to that signal by delivering more of the same. More scarcity, more worry, more reasons to doubt yourself. But your signal is changing now. The internal shifts that have been happening behind the scenes, the healing, the courage, the clarity, the new relationship with money and self-worth, all of these have been gradually adjusting your frequency. You are broadcasting something different now, something the world has not heard from you before. It is a signal of readiness, of openness, of the quiet, grounded expectation that good things are not only possible but approaching. And the world is beginning to respond to this new signal. You may not see the full results yet, but they are forming. Opportunities are gathering in the periphery of your life. People are being drawn to your new energy. Circumstances are rearranging themselves to match the frequency you are now emitting. The delivery is in transit, Pisces. It just has not arrived at your door yet. Foundation 7. The seventh thing forming behind the scenes is a plan. Not a plan you consciously created, not a plan written in a journal or mapped out on a whiteboard, but a plan that your soul has been developing in partnership with the universe for longer than you realize. This plan takes into account everything: your gifts, your wounds, your experiences, your desires, your fears, your timing. It accounts for variables your conscious mind could never calculate and possibilities your imagination could never conceive. And it is approaching the point of execution. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. Foundation 8. The eighth thing forming behind the scenes is the most intimate of all. It is the emergence of a version of you that has never existed before. Not the you who survived, not the you who sacrificed, not the you who gave everything away and called it love, but the you who thrives, the you who receives without guilt, the you who prospers without apology, the you who stands in abundance and does not feel the need to immediately give it all away to prove that you are still a good person. This version of you has been forming for a very long time, shaped by every experience, refined by every challenge, strengthened by every moment of quiet endurance. And it is almost ready to emerge. You will not recognize this version of yourself immediately, Pisces. It will feel unfamiliar at first, like wearing new clothes that have not yet conformed to the shape of your body. You will catch yourself thinking thoughts you have never thought, making choices you have never made, standing in spaces you have never occupied. And part of you will wonder if this is real, if it is allowed, if it is going to last. But it is real, it is allowed, and it is going to last. Because this version of you is not a costume, it is not a performance, it is the truest expression of who you have always been, finally freed from the constraints of fear, scarcity, and self-doubt that kept it hidden for so long. Foundation 9. The ninth thing forming behind the scenes is a convergence of timing. There are moments in every person's life when multiple streams of energy, effort, growth, and circumstance converge at a single point. Astrologers call these windows. Spiritual teachers call them kairos moments. Ordinary people call them lucky breaks. But whatever you call them, they are real, and one is forming for you right now. The inner work you have done is converging with external circumstances that you did not create and cannot control. The healing is converging with opportunity. The courage is converging with necessity. The clarity is converging with timing. And when all of these streams meet, Pisces, the result will not be a trickle. It will be a flood. You cannot rush this convergence. You cannot force it into your preferred timeline, but you can be ready for it. You can continue doing the inner work. You can continue clearing space in your life for what is coming. You can continue building the foundation, nurturing the courage, deepening the clarity, and trusting the process even when the process feels agonizingly slow. Because when the convergence arrives, and it will, everything will move quickly. Everything will shift at once. And the person who has been quietly preparing behind the scenes will be ready to step into the current and let it carry them somewhere extraordinary. Foundation 10. The 10th and final thing forming behind the scenes is the most important of all, and it is the simplest to name but the hardest to believe. It is your blessing. Your specific, personal, divinely appointed blessing. Not someone else's blessing repurposed for you. Not a generic, one-size-fits-all reward for good behavior. But yours. Tailored to your needs, shaped by your journey, sized to fit the exact contours of the life you have lived and the person you have become. This blessing has been forming for a very long time. It has been shaped by your tears, refined by your prayers, strengthened by your patience. And it is almost ready to be delivered. Pisces, I know that believing in something you cannot see is hard. I know that decades of disappointment have taught you to protect yourself from hope, to keep your expectations low, to brace for the worst even while praying for the best. But what is forming behind the scenes of your life right now is not another false start. It is not another empty promise. It is the real, tangible, material manifestation of everything you have been building toward, everything you have been healing toward, everything you have been growing toward since the day you were born. The prosperity forming behind the scenes of your life is not a question of if. It is a question of when. And the when, Pisces, is so much closer than you think. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust yourself. And most importantly, trust that the invisible work happening right now is the most important work of all. Because when it finally breaks the surface and becomes visible, it will change everything. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift, or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.